What is going on, guys? UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Saint Denis has ended. I'm going to go on my post-fight reaction to every fight, going through the fights. I'll spend more time on others than I will some of these prelims. Starting off with the first fight, though. This was a good one. Balaja Oki, I don't know how to pronounce it, versus Chris Duncan. I got a lot of picks on this card wrong. When I was going back and watching the tape on a lot of these fighters, I just thought that there would be able to be moments where they could capitalize, and they did not do so. Now, this fight, though, this was a good fight while it lasted. Oki landing the better power shots, pretty sloppily, though. Like, his striking was not crisp at all. It was mainly sloppy power shots. Then Chris Duncan gets the guillotine locked up when they're against the fence. Pulls the guillotine, which at first I thought, Oki was going to slip out. Then he was in it for a while, and I thought, oh, he's good, he's in it, but he doesn't have it tight enough. Then at first it was kind of hard to tell, but he actually was out. And then Duncan releases the guillotine thinking, okay, this guillotine's not going to work. And he's out. And then he's yelling at the ref, he's out. And gets a first round guillotine. I really didn't think Duncan was going to be able to pull it off, but because Oki kept giving a thumbs up. He did it a couple times, so I thought, he was just not going to be able to get the finish there. But he did. He really needs to work on more technical striking, Oki does. He's got good power. He was looking pretty good, but just needs to work on being more technical and having a better fight IQ. Moving up the card, Nora Cornell versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Not a really super fun, exciting fight. I don't want to say I'm tired of it, but I'm kind of tired of fighters. This was a pretty close fight, but I thought it was pretty clear win for Cavalcanti. And at the end, I just feel like she was landing better power shots. I don't know if you look at the strikes here on the UFC's website, which I don't think these are 100% accurate. If we look here, significant strikes, 54 to they were dead even. I don't think this is 100% accurate, because most of the time when Cavalcanti would land, it would have significant impact on Nora. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, but it would have significant impact, and you could see it affecting her more than when Nora would land on Cavalcanti. So I think it was a pretty clear win. I don't think it should have been split decision. I think Cavalcanti won pretty clearly. And then at the end, you have Nora throwing her hands up like she won. The fighters do that all the time. I don't understand. We'll talk about that a little later for another fight. Moving up the card, Daniel Barras versus Victor Altamirano. This was a good fight. Within, I think it was the first few 20, 25 seconds, something like that. Barras, or however Michael Bisping was pronouncing it, drops Altamirano badly. And he was going for the finish. Didn't end up getting the finish. After that, Altamirano, throughout all 3 rounds, after he got back up from being dropped, was slamming kicks constantly. He was doing he was almost winning rounds with those kicks, doing pretty good. But then Daniel would get a really solid hit. I think in round 2, it kind of dropped Altamirano a couple of times. One of them almost looked like it could have been a slip. It might have been a slip. And the second time towards the end of the round, got a good solid punch in and somewhat dropped him. And then at the end of the 3rd round, he tries the Max Holloway point and does end up dropping. I believe it was a straight right. But Altamirano doing very good with the kicks. Constantly throwing kicks, good leg kicks, body kicks, trying to get the head kicks. Nothing super successful. They were mainly landing on the arm of Barras. But still, nonetheless, doing some damage with those kicks. I think Altamirano, he doesn't have, kind of has a good chin. He keeps getting dropped, but I think he can improve a little bit. He was doing good at moving, but then he would just get caught in that one moment and then get hurt, and then Barras would get the round back. So I thought that was a correct scorecard, because there were some fights on this card where the scorecards were a little iffy. But moving on. Aylin Perez versus Daria Zalesniakova. This was a pretty good fight. You had Aylin Perez. I believe she missed weight by, what was like a half a pound or something like that. So they, took 20% of her purse. It was looking kind of, sketchy at first for Perez. Zalesniakova keeping it on the feet, keeping her at range a little bit. Finally, Perez gets her down, gets that arm triangle, and then as soon as she taps and gets up, torques on her. It's like, damn, the disrespect. There really wasn't too much to say about this fight. There wasn't a whole lot of strikes thrown. I mean, don't know how accurate these striking numbers are, but 22-12. 27 attempted and 21 attempted. So not a lot of strikes thrown. I thought Perez was just going to be able to out-grapple her all 3 rounds. I thought Zalesniakova was going to be able to survive. Be out-grappled but survive and lose a decision. But that's not the case. Aylin Perez calls... I can't remember who she called out. She called out somebody. I can't remember who it was. Oh, not Holly Holm. The woman who just beat Holly Holm. Kayla Harrison. She just called out Kayla Harrison. I doubt that's going to happen. And Kayla Harrison would probably destroy her. So, moving up the card. Taylor Lapulus versus Vincent Morales. Vince Morales. I actually think, I don't 100% recall, but when I was doing my early predictions video, I think I might have skipped this fight. I don't recall 100%, but when I saw it up on the card, it just kind of skipped through my mind. Like, I don't remember if I did an early prediction on this fight or not. Nevertheless, this is a pretty good fight. Essentially, it was a one-sided beatdown for Taylor Lapulus. Couple of good moments for Morales. Was able to get him down. He landed 2 of 6 of his takedowns. Was able to get him down a couple of times, but Lapulus was urgent in getting back to his feet. Pretty much just outstruck him for all 3 rounds. And that's essentially how every round went. I think there's one moment Morales had his back briefly, but other than that, that was it. It was just pretty much outclass by Taylor Lapulus. Moving up on the card, Ludwig Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. Now, essentially how I described this fight was essentially how these 3 fights went. Pretty much, a one-sided beatdown. So I'm just going to kind of lump these 3 in together. A one-sided beatdown for all 3 opponents. Now, it was a little bit more here with Ludwig Klein and Roosevelt Roberts. The first round was closer for Roosevelt Roberts and Ludwig Klein. I think one judge gave Roosevelt Roberts the first round. I had it all 3 rounds for Ludwig Klein. I thought he was landing the better shots. He was able to mix in the grappling. Wasn't able to get Roberts out of there, which, I predicted Klein via decision. I thought Roberts would be able to stick it out and lose a decision, which he did. Now, he did look improved in this fight, Roberts, that is, compared to his last few fights that he's had, especially the ones he's had in the UFC. So, I know this is like his second stint in the UFC. I would say give him one more fight. Give him one more fight. If he loses that fight, cut him. And see if he can work his way back a third time, I guess. But, it was an exciting fight. But moving on. Omar Sy versus Dawu Jung. Again, the same stuff. Dawu Jung, slower on the feet. Omar, better speed. Jung seemed like he was trying to find like that one knockout punch. And Omar was kind of just piecing him up more. Omar attempted more of the takedowns. Whenever Jung would attempt to try to do anything, he would just get reversed. So, yeah, that was that. Again, like I said, you kind of just lump these 3 fights together. It was almost, I don't want to say a one-sided beatdown, but it was a pretty dominant decision for these 3 winners here. So I don't really have too much to say about that. Moving up. This, I do have something to say about. Ian Cutelaba versus Ivan Erslan. I think I pronounced his name right this time. So I predicted Ian Cutelaba via first round KO. He was in the first round. He was landing good, but then he was starting to get countered, and I'm like, oh, okay. Ursula's maybe starting to figure him out a little bit, setting up his counters. Then Cutelaba kind of dialed it back a little bit, was trying to pick his shots a little better. Used some offensive grappling. He used it throughout the fight. They were kind of a little bit going back and forth. They do have sub attempts on here. I believe that he did go for a rear naked choke, kind of ish, at one point. Cutelaba, if I remember correctly, but it was very brief. It wasn't anything lasting. But I don't see how this is a split decision. I did go back and rewatch it. I thought it was pretty clear Ian Cutelaba decision. I believe there was another fight on the card a little higher up. Let's see. Yeah, a little higher up. That was weird. But yeah, I thought Ian Cutelaba won. The win doesn't mean much. I don't think he has a future in the light heavyweight division. I don't think he's going to, climb up the ranks or anything. It was a decent, exciting fight, though. And even Ursula's corner, I believe, was going into the last round, even told him, like, you're down 2 rounds. You need to finish him. And he couldn't go out there and get the job done. So we move on. This was a tough one right here. Fares Ziam versus Matt Frevola. I think a lot of people were picking Matt Frevola to win. I was going back to watch Fares Ziam's last few fights, and he didn't look that good. I don't know if that KO loss... Matt Frevola has been KO'd several times in his career. This now is back-to-back KO losses for Frevola. This one was a brutal KO loss. Frevola was having a very tough time with the range. Just trying to throw sloppy power shots essentially the whole fight. Couldn't really land anything solid. Was landing a few good jabs here and there. His corner was wanting him to throw a body shot and a left hook. I think he did it like once or twice. Successfully. Was trying to mix in the grappling, but didn't have that good. In the first round, he had a little bit of success with the grappling. But then, even later on in the fight, Fares Ziam was actually using the grappling to take Matt Frevola down. It was just the range of Fares Ziam was too much trouble for Matt Frevola, and he couldn't get anything going. He couldn't get his jab going, couldn't get any of his shots going, he couldn't get his takedowns going. They both had a sub attempt here. And I said it was a head kick, but the problem Matt Frevola has, and as well as Brendan Allen later on, is when they're in these certain awkward positions up against the fence, or even in the middle of the octagon, but they're clinched up or they're exiting, they're being lazy and they're being sloppy. That's exactly how Matt Frevola got KO'd. He was kind of getting his back taken, but kind of turning away from it, but he was kind of half-assing it. He wasn't fully committing to get out because he was so tired from essentially getting brutalized. But he was so tired and not really paying attention. And, Fares Ziam has those long-ass legs and just throws a knee up right to Matt Frevola's chin and brutally sleeps him. Follows him to the ground with I think, unnecessary ground and pound shots. Frevola was out cold. Those shots were 100% unnecessary. I know you got to do it till the ref pulls you off. Kind of like what happened with Jalen Turner and Renato Moicano in their fight, where he could have finished Moicano if he would have jumped on him, but he didn't. In this case, I think those shots were completely unnecessary, and it would, in my mind, even looked cooler if he would have just done a walk-off knee KO. But when the fighters are in these certain positions, they need to be paying attention. They're not paying attention. They're half-assing it, and they're getting caught. And it did happen to Brendan Allen a couple times as well. Moving up on the card, though. Matt Frevola needs to take some time off. I know he took quite a bit of time off from his last fight versus Benoit Saint Denis, but I think it's like 34, 35. So I really think his career's probably done. I think he can definitely beat some people in the lightweight division still, but he's never going to be a top 15 lightweight again. Moving up on the card, Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. Terrible pick by me. I picked Gabriel Miranda via rear naked choke. And at one point, he did have the back of Morgan Charrier, but he couldn't do anything with it. Doing the lowest IQ moves ever. He was pulling guard several times. I don't understand. Unless you have I still don't think it's a good idea. But unless you have insane triangles like Paul Craig does, there's no he's good at rear naked chokes. And I get you can take the back, from guard, and then you can you can get the back from guard. But when you're doing MMA, it's way different, way more difficult to do that. And that's definitely what ended up making him lose the first round. He pulled guard and was just getting smashed. It's like the stupidest shit ever. I don't understand why. And he kept doing it even after it did it and it didn't work. And then, kind of again, just like the last fight, they were exiting a clinch. He was spinning around and gets hit with a left hook. And not knocked out cold, but flash KO'd, hit the ground, woke back up. These fighters need to pay attention to what is going on. Maybe if he would have had his hands up and been protecting himself, he wouldn't have got knocked out. Just like Herb Dean says, you got to protect yourselves at all times. But, yeah, just the awareness the lack of awareness that a lot of these fighters had tonight is what cost them their fight. Matt Fafolo was going to lose anyway. But moving up on the card, Kevin Jousset versus Brian Battle. This was a great fight. Great fight. Brian Battle wins via second round TKO. If you're listening to the commentary, you would think that Jousset had some ungodly power. Now, to be fair, he was hitting Battle with shots and was snapping Battle's head back. But it was almost like, in my eyes, they weren't really affecting him. They were snapping his head back, sure, but it's like he didn't even care. And whenever Battle was hitting Jousset, I felt like Jousset was almost respecting the power of Battle even more. Beginning of the first round, it was pretty clear Battle did want to grapple, though. And he just couldn't get it going. He tried and he tried and he tried, but he couldn't get any takedowns. He even got taken down. They didn't even count it as a takedown on here, it shows. But he got taken down for a second and got popped right back up. So they didn't count that. But you could tell. I just don't understand usually just Michael Bisping, honestly, if I'm being honest. He's just not very good on commentary. Battle would hit Jousset with a 2 or 3 piece combination, and you could see it bothering him. Yeah, obviously he's getting hit, but you could see it having an effect on him versus when Jousset would hit Battle. Yes, it would snap his head, but he would be locked right back on. It did not bother him. Flips the crowd off after he wins. I even think Herb Dean could have stopped it a little earlier. I think it was almost a little late stoppage. It almost looked, I couldn't tell 100%. I should go back and see. But it almost looked like Jousset's eyes were closed in the finishing sequence. He was just trying to cover up. His eyes were closed. I couldn't tell 100% though. But my wife was watching that fight with me. And we both agreed that fight could have been stopped earlier than what it was. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. But when people were taking brain damage, every second counts, especially the Bobby Green fight. But moving up on the card, William Gomez versus Joanderson Brito. Essentially a robbery. I thought Brito won, clearly won rounds 1 and 2. I don't think a judge, it might have been an online scorecard I saw. I saw some scorecard someone gave Brito all 3 rounds. I should have pulled up the scorecard on this. Let me take a pause real quick. I'm going to pull up the scorecard. We'll look at it real quick together. All right, so we have the card pulled up here. The scorecard, that is. Let's see. So we got rounds 1 and rounds 3 for Gomez. Round 3 for Gomez. Rounds 1 and 2. So this is the scorecard that I had. I had rounds 1 and round 2 for Joannis and Brito. Coming out strong as always. Throwing big shots. And then this judge, again, rounds 1 and rounds 3 for William Gomez. I just don't see, Brito is landing the better shots. Doing better in the majority of the grappling. I don't see, how are you giving Gomez this round? I don't see it. Oh, wrong one. Maybe we will. Maybe I'll do a breakdown on it. I'll go through a play-by-play on the fight and rewatch it and see if it changes my opinion or not. But I thought it was a clear win for Joannis and Brito. Gets robbed on the judges' scorecards. I guess not much to say about that if you don't want to get robbed to finish the fight. At one point, he did have a pretty tight, or at least it looked tight, arm triangle, but didn't get it. Thought maybe he gassed his arms out, but he still was going strong, had good low kicks this fight. I don't think his, it's not over. If anything, I don't think Gomez will be going very far in the featherweight division. I think Brito has a better chance of bouncing back. But moving on, the co-main event. This was a good fight. First round, Allen gets Imavov down within like the first 30 seconds. I picked Imavov to win via decision, which he did. As soon as Allen got him, it was fast. It was like the first 30 seconds has Imavov down. I'm like, shit. I'm like, is Allen gonna shock the world here? Like, I don't think anybody was picking Allen. Like, I definitely felt like he had the jiu-jitsu advantage when he was on the ground, but that, like, when he had him down that first round, I don't think it shows control time. No, it doesn't. I wish it showed control time. It was essentially the whole first round he had Imavov down. He wasn't doing a whole lot, though, to be fair. He would land, like a little baby elbow or two or a couple little baby punches. He was really trying to cement his position. It seemed like he was trying to get mount for a while. Herb kept telling him to work, and then a few times he would start working and start making moves to do some damage or improve his position, and then Herb would be like work, which he seems to have a tendency of doing that a lot. When people start working, he tells them to work, even though they are. And I gave Allen the first round. Well, clearly, he won the first round. I thought the second round was going to be the same thing. I was like, oh, he's going to go out here and do the same thing, get him down. That is not what happened. Essentially, the second and third round, especially the second round, Imavov beat the brakes off of Allen. I mean, he kept making Allen shoot on like the sloppiest takedowns. If this number is correct, it shows he shot for 10 takedowns. He was shooting like panic, just desperation shooting takedowns in the second and third round. He couldn't get off anything. And again, going back to Matt Frivola, what's the other guy's name? Gabriel Miranda. I can't remember if it was the second or third round, but I don't remember which one it was. There was a moment, I think it was the third round, where Allen just wasn't paying attention, and Imavov clocked him with a couple good shots. And it seems like, I don't want to say Allen didn't think Imavov had the grappling to submit him, but he would just give up his back, then be in turtle position, then just get socked with punches, and just try and roll to his back and get in guard. It's like he had no fight IQ. And then going into the third round, it was clearly 1-1. Shooting on more sloppy takedowns, not getting close to finishing. Maybe one of them he was somewhat close to getting, but then Imavov reversed. Towards the end of the third round, it was pretty clear Imavov was winning. Imavov, whatever. Allen was landing a few shots on Imavov, and I'm like, oh, I think, a couple of those hurt Imavov. But what did he do? He just shot on sloppy takedowns and clinched. It's like, man, you're going to lose the fight. getting beat pretty clearly, you got to go for it, man, or just don't win. Again, like the commentary was saying, this is essentially almost a number one contender fight. I know you have Whitaker and Chimaev fighting. They're probably going to give the winner of that fight Dricus du Plessis. I'm telling you right now, because Imavov did call for a title shot. Dricus finishes him probably in the first or second round. If Allen can get him down, and again, he only did it one time, but he held him down the whole time. And I think Dricus would smash Allen easily. I think Dricus wins that fight easily versus Imavov. Obviously, anything can happen. It's MMA. But, and then when the decision's getting read, Allen's holding his hand up like he won. Like, dude, you just got beat. Like, pretty clearly. Again, like I was saying, I feel like if towards the end of the third round, there were some moments where he could have used his striking, and I think he could have ended up winning, because it looked like some of those shots were hurting Imavov. But he didn't. So now he's back to the drawing board. Moving on to the main event. This was a good fight while it lasted. Doctor stoppage. First round, again, similar to the fight before this, except Moicano did damage. Gets BSD down. Takes him down within I think it was like the first 30, 45 seconds. Gets him down. I'm like, okay, good. Benoit Saint-Denis going for like the Derek Lewis get up. Just keeps trying to just power his way up. I don't know if he tired himself out doing that or not. Could not get back up. And essentially what you have is Moicano transitioning from mount to half guard. I believe at some point he was in full guard. And then when he first took him down, he had BSD had hooks, butterfly hooks. He was just essentially transitioning to those three positions, doing vicious ground and pound with elbows and punches. Every time BSD would try to get up, he would give up his back. And Moicano would take his back. A couple of times, was going for rear naked chokes, never really got anywhere close to getting it. Clear win in the first round for Moicano. I saw some people I was watching the live stream of Guru and Joey. I was switching back and forth between the two. Some people were saying 10-8. I will look up the scorecard to see if it was a 10-8. Let's go look that up real quick. I'm on the news Twitter. Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong scorecard. Oopsies. Here we go. Yes, so every judge, including myself, scored the first round 10-8 for Renato Moicano. Got him down very quickly and massive damage in that first round. Had BSD's eyes swollen very bad, both the right and the left eye. The right eye was worse. And that, so okay, then we fast forward second round. All three judges, I believe. All three judges gave BSD the second round. I could see why they gave him the second round. I think he was landing more shots, and he attempted more shots. And he was attempting power shots as well. But I feel like Moicano was just throwing a few jabs out there. I felt like he kind of knew the doctor was going to stop it. And whenever we would hit BSD with a jab in the face, he would get a pretty good reaction out of Benoit Saint-Denis. Good fight while it lasted. I could see that stoppage coming a mile away. I see that he wanted to fight. He wanted to continue. But for his own health and safety, he could lose an eye. He couldn't see that right eye was completely swollen. You keep continuing to fight and you keep getting hit, you could end up losing an eye. You don't want to go blind like Michael Bisping did from fighting if you don't have to. So, great win by Moicano. Calls out Paddy Pimblett. Calls out Dan Hooker. Newsflash. I'm going to do a fights to make video. I don't think you should fight either one of those people. And you're going to be surprised. Or maybe not. Maybe not surprised. Who I think you should fight next. Regardless if the doctor stopped it and that going into the third round there, I do believe Moicano would have won. Again, probably in the third or fourth round via TKO. especially after what he did in the first round. So what did you guys think of UFC Fight Night Paris? Let me know what you thought of the main event down in the comment section down below. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and leave a like on this video. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.